for joining. I know it's these holidays coming up and everyone's busy, but hopefully get some useful information out of today's session. Before we go on to any of the journey management that we wanted to cover in today's session, I wanted just to cover a few of the new features that we've launched. They're only small tweaks, but useful all the same. One of the first things, I'll just quickly show you, and I know a few people have already asked about this one, is putting the branded colours directly within their fonts in the text editor. So, as everyone knows, this function's been here for a while with your branded colours being directly from this view here, where you can change it from your CTAs or your background colours. We've now put that directly within our text editor as well. So now when you go in and when you want to change the colour, you'll see all of your branded colours there as well. So you no longer need to search for the hex codes in that section. All of that's now unified. We've also launched within our settings a new, hang on, someone's just asked to present. Is that now back on my screen? Right. Let's put everyone on mute. Okay, so now on the settings page, if I just roll down, we've got user management. So this will be seen by the master user. But what we've added now is some new permissions as well. So you see here are all ours. And what we can do, if I click on the three dots, where I can manage the permissions, we've now added extra ones. So the ability to manage users. So rather than it just being the master account that gives the ability to look at those. And also the ability to erase contacts. Now, we put that straight down to only master users. Simply because, we didn't want everyone with the ability to erase users. Or erase your data, as it's quite a strong thing to do. Once you've erased a contact for a GDPR purpose, they are fully erased. So you now can give certain users access to doing that as well. Also see, we've got this 2FA status. So if you've got lots of different users within your platform, and you want to check that they have enabled the two-factor authentication, you'll see here we've got a full list. Where it's got a red lock, it means they haven't enabled it yet. So if you do want to ensure that all of your users have enabled two-factor authentication, you can check here and also give them a push to ensure that they're doing so. We have also launched a new password policy as well. So see here. So this is where if you've got an internal rule in policy to make sure that people are resetting their passwords every certain amount of days, and also setting a specific criteria. So a minimum of 8 characters, a capital letter, for instance. If I click yes and enable it, you'll see now there's a reset password interval. So if I want to ensure that all of my users are resetting their password every 30 days, I can do that now directly within the settings. And finally, what we've just launched is the ability just to override the actual reply address. So a lot of you will have seen when you actually get an email and maybe you change the reply address to go to marketing at so and so forth, it will show your send. And the reason for that is because we will manage the spam, the reply addresses, anything that comes through that's not ideal, that you don't want to actually receive any spam. We'll actually block that. We've just launched an override basically. So if you want to receive everything, all of the out of offices, all of the spam, but you want it to look like it's coming from your email address, all you would do, so I just go on send test, where I've got the in fact, let me go directly within a journey and I'll show you it here. I'm going to open up a send email stage. It's a big journey, this one. Go. So where we've got reply address, if I pop this here, reply off, 3 underscores with that, and I can send it over to you if anyone wants this. So just pop in to come and send us an email. I can send this directly to you. This will make it look like it's actually coming from marketing@force24.co.uk. And everyone will see that it's coming from that particular address, and you will also reply directly to it. So there are all of the new features so far. If I go back onto our Journey Manager, what we wanted to talk today really is about the different ways that you can actually utilize our Journey and the different things you can actually send out within Journey Manager. So, whether it's email marketing or whether it's basically there for data segmentation. So let me start off with one of them. If I'm going to start a new journey, let's start simple, and perhaps we want to send an email when it reaches someone's birth date. So I'm just going to call it a birth date. I think I've still got a lot of people joining and leaving. There's a lot of beeping. So apologies for that. See if I can turn that off. No. Yeah, there is a lot of beeping. I don't know why. I think a lot of people keep joining and leaving. I think we've got a lot of joiners still coming in. I'll have a look at that for next time. We'll just have to cope with it for now, guys. Apologies if people keep joining a little bit later. So anyway, so back to this. So with the birthday journey email, I'm just going to call the journey birthday email. That will open up the Journey Manager that I'm sure a lot of you are actually familiar with. And this instance, then, I need to start with my start audience, obviously. And because I want it to go out on someone's birth date, I'm going to select a date field. So obviously we have our ARC date time fields as well. And we've also got a birth date. So if I select the relative, this means I can select based on that specific date. So if I select that, birth date relative equals today, what they will do, if I've got that date against the contact, is they will only receive an email when they reach that criteria. I drag across the send email. Call it birthday email for now. Today's birthday. Select that as marketing, and perhaps you want to send them an offer. You just want to say happy birthday to them. That will trigger each time it's their birthday each year. Connect the elements up, end journey. So very quickly you've built one automated journey based on the fact that it's their birthday. Now the date field also can be applied to, let's say, perhaps an appointment. Maybe they've booked an appointment directly with an account manager, or to see maybe a design visit. As long as you've got a date, you can provide a journey based on that date, and it doesn't have to be on that specific date. It can be prior to that day. So let's just say I've got an appointment. Just call it appointment reminder. I'm going to have the contacts again, just only when they meet the start audience for the first time. And this time, when I drag across my start audience, I am going to make sure I go to my date fields. And I'm going to pick this one. So it will be either stored in one of our ARC date fields. Again, I want to pick relative because I want to send it prior to the date. So if I click that one, rather than it being as yesterday, I can have as tomorrow. So perhaps I want to send it one day before their appointment, say, don't forget, your appointment is tomorrow. Or I can set it an actual number of days. So I might say before, in the future, maybe I want to send it 7 days. So before 7 days in the future. And I'm going to drag across my send email stage. And very simply, this is just reminder, email 1, 7 days. I might set it as a transactional. Perhaps they absolutely have to receive it. So if someone has booked an appointment with you, because it has to be sent, you can set that as transactional. That will override their permissions if they've unsubscribed from your general marketing communications. So one to bear in mind when it comes to these types of transactional communications. I'm going to click save, and I'm going to connect those elements up. Perhaps this time, though, I want to send an email 6 days later because it's the day before their appointment. So I'm going to put a delay now of 6 days. What I also want to make sure is that the reminder goes only if that date is still applicable. So this is where I really need to make sure that I'm making use of our make decision components. So I'm going to make use of make decision here. I'm going to make it instant because I've already set a delay prior to that. Perhaps I want to check if that ARC state is still tomorrow. Or perhaps I've got another status against them. So I know some of you with your integrations, you might be mapping across lead status, something like that. You might make use of that within the make decision stage. So in this case, I'm saying, is it still tomorrow? And you'll see now I've got a yes/no decision tree. I'm going to connect that element up. And you'll see now it's yes/no. If yes, I'm going to end their journey because they've cancelled their appointment perhaps, or it's no longer applicable. They're now doing something different, so I'm going to leave it at that. Everyone else, they want their reminder. So I'm going to clone this stage. Might be same email template, might be a new one. Just copy that. Email 1 day before. Click save. And connect the no up. And I can do the same again. So perhaps this time I want to send it on the day. I would set a 1 day reminder. Delay for 1 day. Make the same decision again. But this time I'm saying, is it today? I'm going to connect those elements up. And perhaps on the day of the reminder, I might make use of an SMS because this is really, really powerful when it comes to these kind of reminders. Because an email, yes, is great. It'll get into their inbox. But SMS, they're definitely receiving it. So I might drag across my send SMS stage. I might have my replies on, or I might have them off. If they're on, it will come from a telephone number. It just gives them the ability to reply. So if you need them to say no, they can no longer make it or anything like that. I'm going to have it off in this instance. Perhaps it's coming from me. Don't forget your appointment is today. Make sure it's marked as no transactional again. Click save. And I'm going to connect to my yes component here. And now, again, what I can do here, I can either end the journey or I can continue to make it even longer. So perhaps there's follow-up comms to go after the appointment. I might set something 2 days later. Did they get everything they received during that appointment? And let's see, I've got a couple of questions. How do we ensure that emails are sent between a certain window? Okay. So if you want to see that if you want to send a specific window, so if I go prior to my start audience, before all of my email one goes, I might actually set a delay time. My delay time can be instant, but I can select send windows. So I might select all day, and I might select, might select all week. I might maybe say I don't want to send them on weekends, perhaps. In this instance, I probably would select all week because it'll be met on a certain criteria, which will be the 7 days. And then I might also select time. So I always want this to go between 8 and 9 a.m. Click save, and it will only send that email then when they've met that criteria 7 days prior, and also between 8 and 9 a.m. If someone replies to an SMS, how do we see what they've replied? So if you've got SMS in here, it will go straight into the system. And if I just see if I've got an example for you of one we've done, I'll go into my SMS results on your campaigns. If I look at this one, has this one got any replies? No. So what you would see, this number would populate. So much like the email results page where you can export and see contacts, you can export this directly here. So what it would do, it would export those replies for you, and then you can see exactly what that person has said, and that will be available there. Any other questions on the appointment reminder journey so far? Does it make sense? I know really the logic really does come into place when it's to do with the date criteria. So whether that's via integrations, whether that's data uploads, all of that is resulted here. And you can also put that date directly within your email or SMS. So if this was an SMS reminder, you would simply put aux date 1. And you'll see here, it'll say 1 and it'll tell you exactly what that date is. So in this instance, it's in the future. But if you put that in, you can say, don't forget your appointment is on 15th of blah, blah. And you can also, if you have the time field, include the time as well. You'll notice that that's a different field in the system. I just open up the start audience again. We've also got aux date time. So if you need to include date and time, you can include that there. Can I show the email override function again? I sure can. So if I just open up the email, so as you know, at the minute, this is where the override reply address will come, will reply to. You don't see this email address. If you want the user to see that email address, you type in F24 reply off and 3 underscores. I'll pop it in the chat for everyone now if they want to copy and paste that at all. And again, just pop up on Intercom or drop us a message if you want that explained. So what that means is now when you receive an email, it will look like it's coming, in this instance, from marketing@force24.co.uk. Where that's really powerful is when you're sending plain text emails and you want it to come directly from an account manager, let's say. That's where that comes into play. Any other questions on this one so far? Okay. So I guess one of the other things is that's probably one of the more complicated journeys. If you're new to Journey Builder, you just want to get started on just sending emails in general. What I would suggest is perhaps starting sending even just your normal campaigns through a journey, but doing maybe something quite straightforward. So if I just do a new campaign, and again, I will add the context to the journey only the first time I meet the start audience filter requirements. Because in this instance, all I want to do is select a marketing list. And this marketing list might just simply be my data set. So I'm just going to put test in for now, but this might be my customer data. I might then say, right, I want to say when I want my first email to go. So it's Easter, so I don't want to send anything until next week, let's say. So I'm going to say, trigger this email next Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't need a delay for because I've put everything in my not before. I'd also suggest perhaps renaming this stage as well, just so you can see it. If I pop that in there and click save, you'll see now it says 23rd of the 4th. So just when you go into the Journey Manager, very quickly you know what date it is without having to click in. And then what I might want to do is I might want to make use of split testing now. I might want to say, what subject line is best performing for my database? Or perhaps I've got 4 different email templates and I'm testing CTAs. So one set of data might get find out more, one set might get read more, just to try and really see what's resonating with your database. So I'm just going to do drag across split, and you'll see now I've got 2 percentage signs. So I can put 50-50 in here. I can go all out. I can separate it 4 times perhaps. So I might put 25%. And then what this split test will do is it will randomly split the data. So it won't do, first A to B's are in here, and so on and so forth. It will split your entire database at random. And you'll see it's very much like the make decision stage. I've now got 4 different instances of where I can set these off. So again, I just send my send email. So email 1, maybe call it 1A because it's my split test A. And maybe I'm doing it by subject line. Set it as marketing. So let's make email template and click save. And all I do is connect the first 25% up to email 1A. Again, I can clone this stage because if I'm just changing the subject line, everything remains the same. I'm just changing certain elements. Click save, drag that down, and I put that 25%. You get the idea. Now I'm going to do the same again. And pop that here. And then maybe with the rest of the 25%, maybe it's my control group. So if I'm sending out some sort of offer, I might be testing, a section of the database to see if an offer maybe perhaps pushes them to buy. Maybe my control group, which is the remaining 25%, they might not want to receive anything. So in theory, I could end their journey right here so they don't get anything further. Or I can just send them another email. So if I do, again, a 4th email, I clone this one might be my 4th subject line. There we go. You see now I've got 4 emails going out, and I'll connect that last one up. So what happens at the next stage? Perhaps then what I want to do is say, everyone that doesn't open, do I want to resend them an email again with a new subject line? Perhaps, actually, I want to send a small segment of the database 2 different emails, and then I would send the best performing subject line to everyone else. So I might only do like 5, 5, 5, and then for the remaining, because I've got a large portion of the data spot, there we go, I've got 85%. Everyone else might get the winning subject line, and that might happen on the 25th because I'm doing it on the 24th. There we go, for the 25th at 9 a.m. The remaining 85% will get my winning subject line. I'll put email 1, winner. And that's there. Now, this doesn't happen automatically, so all I would just say is just remember just to have a look, make sure you're looking at your results, and then everyone else will get the remaining subject line. You can have the journey live, you just pop back in, change that subject line. And if you're happy with that particular journey, all you want to do then is click End Journey. Okay? So very quickly, you built out one campaign, you're testing the subject lines. So again, when you come into your main campaigns, try and do it through Journey Manager just to get used to the idea of building out these journeys and sending out your email templates. General request, hang on to it. So someone's asked, what is the difference between automated campaigns and journeys? Okay, so on this particular page, we've got Journey Manager. The difference really is the results. So if I go back to Journey Manager, this is where I build out my journey. Yes, I can look at a report and click on this report, and it will take me to a full report of the journey. So show me each stage, the emails for the entire journey. So I've got 7 emails. It will show all of those. It will concatenate into one. Or I can see where people are within a specific journey. So this is our nurture journey. If I click the drop down, it'll just load up all of those different stages, and it'll tell me where people are. So I've got sales, nurture, brand, email 1. I've got 6 active people in there. I've already completed 101,000, so they've moved on to the next stage. There's no one in this stage. A lot of people have completed, as you can see. If I scroll down, I can see that there's still 9 active people in this stage, for instance. It just gives the ability for you to make sure that everything is running through as normal. You know where people are at specific stages. Automated campaigns really is an overview of those email campaigns. So where I've got this April-May campaign, here I can see very quickly a list of emails, how many it's sent to, my opens and my clicks. And it just gives you an overview per email in your specific journey very quickly as well. If I want to then delve even further and look at email 2, for instance, I can click on View Report, and I can just see all of those results for that specific email then. The health status, so it just shows you how many people are running through. So if I just go back to Journey Manager, so the health status, you can see there's a grey because they're not running at the minute. Any that are, they'll be green. So this means that we've got a normal amount of people running through the journey. They're running through as normal. There's no issues. If you see it as red, it might just be that there's quite a lot of data running through, and it's not running through as fast as what you might have thought. So that doesn't tend to happen. Usually you'll see our status at green. If they ever do go to red, just pop up on Intercom and we'll take a look for you and let you know. But most of the time, you'll notice that they are on green. Is there a way to test Journey Manager without sending the emails? Now, that does make sense. So what I would suggest, if you're wanting to test the whole journey, but you don't want to send it to your campaign yet, you can set the campaign up, and then when your start audience, I just click on this, you don't have to select your marketing list straight away. You can just have a test list. So you pop your test list in, click Start, you will run through the journey. Once you're happy that you can run normal marketing list through here, all I would suggest is you add a rule. So let's say this journey is live. I'm now ready to send this to my database. I might just select my data. There we go. Click Save. That journey will then continue and just start instantly from the update. So even if there's a date of the 23rd, let's say, they will run through the journey as normal from the 23rd. And yes, Anya, so you just log back in and just make sure you update the template. It's manual at the minute. You just log in and make sure you change that subject line. Okay. So one of the other things I wanted to really cover with the actual journey manager as well is making use of it for segmentation purposes. So, obviously it's great for sending out anything that you want to automate, maybe from websites and maybe things like this split testing. But now maybe you want to also look at segmenting your data. And one of the easiest ways you can do this is by building an engaged journey. So if I set up a new journey, I'm going to call it engaged. And within this list, all I'm doing is I want to make sure I am sending to people that are fully engaged, basically. Anyone that reached a certain criteria, and I want them in my engaged list. So what I would do, I'm going to set this now. I'm going to add context every time they meet a specific certain criteria, because they might fall out of engaged, but they might fall back in. I want them to run it more than once. So I might set this at 7 days. And my start audience is going to be what I consider to be an engaged contact. So first of all, it might be that their email is active, first of all. I want to ensure that the email is general, it works, it's not hard bounced, it's an active email address. I might then want to know whether or not they have opened an email. So I would do activities, opened email campaign day, and I'm going to pick that relative one again. And I want to say whether or not it's after 90 days. So this means when we're saying after or equal to 90 days in the past. So 90 days in the past, I want it after that. So it's the previous 90 days. So have they opened in the last 90 days? If I click this contact to refresh here, I'll see that number. So I can see that I've got 18,000 that have opened in the last 90 days. And I can get even more specific. I might even say, have they got web activity? Because an engaged person, because they're visiting my website as well, I want to ensure that they are in my engaged list for that reason. So I might say web activity days, again, on after or equal to 90 days. And if you can't remember this, don't worry, we can, again, jump on Intercom or let us know, and we can build out this journey with you to make sure. So if I click on that, I'm saying and. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to click or. There we go, so I've got a much higher number. I'm going to click save for now. And then what I want to do is I want to add these people directly to my marketing list as soon as they meet that criteria. So I'm going to use the action stage this time. I'm going to drag across action, add to a marketing list. So I might say add to engaged. Just create a new marketing list. I might call it engaged list. And click save. And there we go, connect it up. Then what I might want to do is I might want to make a make decision stage, whether or not they're still active, or I might just want to end that journey. So if I just click end journey and connect it up, all that's doing now is as soon as someone meets that criteria of having opened in the last 90 days, they're going to receive that email. And you can do the opposite. So if I want to do an unengaged journey, I would add a group. And if I just pop all of these down here, you see I've got the not function. So the opposite of this would be my not. I'll just click off that for now. And that's everyone that hasn't, opened an email in the last 90 days. They're then what I would set up as my unengaged list. So then from your point of view, you can now start to target these segments very differently. Everyone that's engaged, they can continue to receive my regular emails because I know they want to receive that content. Everyone that's unengaged, let's start to think of a different strategy. So is it worth sending them an SMS? Is it worth sending them maybe a piece of DM to see, get them to re-engage? And then maybe, in fact, everyone that hasn't engaged, do we start to remove them completely? So one of the other things we can do is say, hasn't opened an email in over a year. So you can see that now. What I might want to do then is a similar journey, but I'm going to add them to my unengaged list this time. And maybe also, because they haven't opened in a year, maybe I just want to completely unsubscribe them, because to me, I like it as a dead contact. So what I can do now, if you see the subscriptions, I can drag across subscriptions, and I can say unsubscribe across all of these different instances. You'll also see in our portal, we're making use of subscription preferences. So where we've got automation guides and case studies, I might opt them out of all of these as well. Because again, I see this as a dead contact. I'm going to connect them up. I'm going to update their subscriptions, and I'm going to end their journey. And now there might be in my suppression list, let's say, completely unavailable for me to use going forward. Does web activity mean that someone's been on your website? Yes. So where you've got either microsites or you've got websites where you've got our tracking script applied, yes, that's what web activity means. Obviously, that means that the cookie has to have been dropped on that contact. So have they clicked on an email? Have they filled in a form? That's what that means. Any other questions on this particular data segmentation journey, or does that make sense so far? Okay. What I'll do is very quickly now is just show you one of the easy ways also you can build out an SMS survey. So SMS survey is a very quick way and a very cheap way of sending out a bunch of questions to a specific group of contacts. So perhaps they've visited, perhaps they've had an appointment, maybe a call, and you just want to ask them a couple of questions on how they thought that went, let's say like a feedback journey. So if I just quickly, I'll call this SMS journey. And once again, I'm going to make use of the start audience, which will just be a list. So this could be everyone, like I say, that has had an appointment. Again, I'll just put in test list for now. And I want to send my first SMS campaign. And because I need replies, because it's a survey, I'm going to have replies on. And again, because we need replies, that will come from a system phone number. And your first email might be, how did your call or how did your appointment go? Please reply with comments. I might say this is transactional again as well, because I want to ensure that everyone gets this first SMS. Ooh, and also rename this stage, so SMS 1. And then the next thing I want to do really is make a decision stage. So whether or not someone has now replied to that particular SMS. So what I will do is I'm going to drag across my make decision stage. And I probably want to ensure that it's a delay time. So when I make a delay time within a make decision stage, a yes happens instantly, a no will be delayed. So what I will probably do is I might set it as a day to give them time to reply to that specific campaign. So if I just go to the bottom, and you'll see reply stage name, I call it SMS 1. So this is have they replied. I'm giving them a day. So if they don't reply, I might just end their journey because they're not going to do anything, or I might send a reminder. In this instance, I'm just going to end their journey. Everyone that replies, I might send them another SMS. And this time I might want them to answer specifically yes or no. So I'll drag across my SMS again. Again, have replies on. Would you recommend us yes or no? Again, set that as transactional. And at this time, my make decision components, I'll have to have a few of them because I want to ensure have they replied, but also what that reply contains. So I'm going to clone this stage, and I'm going to make it a day again. I'll say has replied. And this time it'll be SMS 2. And now I want to know what they replied. So if it was a yes. So again, this time I need to link a make decision stage directly to a decision stage. So I just need to select my SMS reply, which is, hang on. Scroll down. Activities, there we go, reply. If it was yes, I'm going to hook that up. So have they replied yes? Was it yes? I'm going to send them an SMS. And it might be something like, because they've replied they would recommend us, and let's say something like, great, please review us on, and then maybe provide a link to Google reviews, review, anything like that, where you want them to push them, basically. If they've replied no, we probably don't want to do that. We don't want to push them to review. So maybe for the no's, we send them an SMS saying, that's a shame. Someone will be in touch soon to speak to them. Just to sort that person out. And then very quickly, we know whether or not we've got good feedback or bad feedback from that particular appointment. And you can make this as long as you like as well. I can continue to expand upon this SMS journey based on the specific replies. So your SMS costs, it depends on whatever is agreed in your contract. So just get in touch if you want to know about how much it will cost. But again, because it's an SMS survey, tends to be to a smaller amount of contacts, so it doesn't tend to be that expensive. Any questions on that so far, or any other questions on Journey Manager that you want to cover before we close off for today? Yes. So the recipients wouldn't charge the recipient. So if you've received an SMS and I was replying directly to the SMS, it would depend on my own contract as a person. So for my own phone contract, I have unlimited SMS, so it wouldn't cost me. If it does, then it would cost them, yes. But most of the modern day contracts tend to have unlimited SMS. So I imagine from a recipient's point of view, it wouldn't cost them. Any other questions so far? Okay. If not, then I will close off today's webinar. Again, we'll send this out on a video as well and an email today. So if you do need to go back over any of the journeys that we've spoke over, we can see all because it's recorded. Any other questions, email, intercom, the usual ways of getting in touch with us. But for now, I'll leave it at that. So have a great Easter, everyone, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.